Close your eyes and step into the dark abyss of emptiness. Beneath your consciousness, there is a dormant power waiting to be unleashed. A forbidden ritual that will allow you to remain unseen when surrounded by your enemies. Hellspawn creatures wreak havoc and inflict pain to those who dares to defy you. And with your soul in return, I will teach you how to harness this gift of mayhem, and you shall emerge a new demon hunter, stronger than ever before.
Hello guys, this is Orof and a warm welcome back to my channel. Today I'm gonna highlight a brand new PvP build for Demon Hunters, and it's an adaptation of the first PvP build that revolves around summons. And I've made some changes and some upgrades in my opinion. What I noticed with the previous build was that at higher ranks you need a little bit more survivability. So yeah, I made some theory crafting and I came up with a really cool and strong new build. So let us dive straight into the video and let's start with the timeline. So first I'm just gonna go through briefly about the idea of the build and what it's good at and what it's maybe less good at. After that we will look on the skills we are using. Then we will go through the set I'm using, but also talk about different options that you can include if you want to. We're gonna look at the essences and also there look at some optional tweaks of this build. We're gonna look at the legendary gems, and also some people has asked me to include my secondary attributes, so I'm just gonna show you what they look like on my character. And finally we're gonna look on 3 different games, and I'll try to pick out some games that shows how versatile this build is. So yeah, let's continue. If we start to talk about the build, of course, once again, we're going to utilize our summons. This build has a lot of sustained damage, so it's not burst. You will constantly apply pressure to the enemy. We will be invisible a lot of the time. We have very good mobility. And finally, this is a ranged class. And a ranged build. So remember that the strength of this type of build is to do a lot of damage, but you can't tank, so you should not stand on the idols, and you should be a little bit more careful. So yeah, this is like the basics of the build itself. The skills we're gonna use is crossbow shot as primary attack, and yeah, we're not going to use the primary attack almost at all, so it doesn't really matter which one I put in here. We're also going to use the strafe, we're going to use the sentries, we're going to use daring swing, and the star of this build is the smoke screen. As the set, I'm mostly playing with 6-piece shepherd because the 6-piece effect is so strong when you get extra attack speed on your summons. But yeah, you can play around a little bit, and another very good option that you can use is that you can have 4 pieces of shepherd and 2 pieces of feasting barons pack. And this also depends a little bit on which legendary gems you will use when playing this build. Me personally, I play a lot of gems that applies negative effects to the enemies, and then this can be a very good addition. But if you're more DPS heavy, yeah, then you should always go for the 6-piece shepherd. So yeah, there's some different options here that you can choose between. If we look on the essences, if we look on the main hands first, we're gonna use Turmoil and Unrelenting Furor. The Turmoil makes my strafe summons also shoot homing missiles, while the Unrelenting Furor prolongs the duration of the strafe summons, which is very good. And for the offhand, we're gonna use one's own Fusillade, which makes the sentries apply a debuff whenever it hits a target. So yeah, it's a neat addition to this build. And of course, we're gonna use the Fallow Farm, which transforms our strafe skill into summons. And you can use 2 of them at the same time. For the helmet slot, I'm using Bore at the Door, which turns my sentries into untargetable summons. And of course, this is very, very good for this build. For the shoulders, I'm using Chill Wrath Mantle, and this turns my this strengthens my daring swings a little bit, because whenever I do a daring swing, it will create a path behind me that freezes and chills the enemies. Not freeze, but chill. So yeah, it's just a great addition. And lastly, we have the dream combo for this specific build. So for the chest piece, we use Darkness Embrace. And what happens is that whenever I use Smokescreen, it becomes like an AoE effect, like a circle on the ground. And whenever I stand in it, I will turn invisible. And if you combine this with the pants, it means that whenever the invisibility disappears, you will gain 50% critical hit chance for 50 seconds. So what you can actually do is that you can put down your summons, and then you can just hide in this AoE area that turns you invisible, and you can stand a little bit back, and then every second you can use 1 primary attack just to trigger this critical hit chance buff. And this buff is not nerfed at all in PvP, so it's very, very strong, and it increases your damage a lot. Of course, if you want to apply even more pressure to the enemy, you can actually replace Daring Swing with Knife Traps and use the Walls on Shattered Glass shoulders instead. What's good about this shoulder is that it actually buffs the attack speed of all the summons, not only the sentries. So if you have very good map awareness and you want to do even more damage, this is a version of the build that you can try out. I have to say that in lower ranks this will work perfectly, but when you start to reach the higher gold ranks or legend rank, the players that you're up against are usually a little bit better at playing PvP. So then maybe I would go for the Daring Swing version instead, because you need that extra mobility. But feel free to play around with different options, as I said. If we look on the legendary gems, first of all, I use one star gem, and that is Freedom and Devotion. It's very good because it prolongs the duration of the summons, which is of course good in PvP and in PvE when we're playing a summons build. For the 2 stars, there are many different options that you can use, but this is the one setup I'm using the most. And I use Pain Clasp, I use Mother's Lament, Viper's Bite, Bloody Reach, the Abiding Curse, and Curseling. So Viper's Bite and Pain Clasp works very well together, because Viper's Bite applies a poison to the enemy, while Pain Clasp increases your damage to any enemy that has a continual damage effect active on it. So they synchronize very well. Also, Mother's Lament is very strong because it gives you extra critical hit chance, so some extra burst damage. And also Bloody Reach, of course, you will stand far away from the battle most of the time because your summons will be there doing all the damage. So Bloody Reach is a perfect option for this build. Also, I have mentioned it before that the effect you get from Bloody Reach is actually doubled when you use summons. So if you are standing 8 yards away from the enemy, you will get the maximum buff from Bloody Reach, and at rank 10, for example, it's 24%. But if you use summons, it will increase the damage of your summons by 48%. Of course, these buffs are nerfed in PvP by 66%, but it's still very, very strong. So easy to include this gem. In my main version, I also like to include some other more technical gems like the Abiding Curse, because the idea here is that the strafe summons they are applying so much damage to everybody in an area. So when I use the Abiding Curse, it will apply this effect very often to a lot of people at the same time. And it both decreases their movement speed and their attack speed. So this also helps the rest of the group. And if someone is low on HP, they can run away, and it's going to be more difficult for the enemy to chase. I also include Curseling in my main build. It's because sometimes if I fail to get out of the way when a Blood Knight is skewering me, or when a necromancer is teleporting to my location to fear me, Curseling can sometimes save me in these situations. As a 5-star gem in my main build, I use Blood-Soaked Jade because it gives me movement speed, which is very good in PvP, and also it increases my damage a little bit, so also a good addition for this build. Of course, you can experiment with a lot of different gems. For example, if you use 2 pieces of Baron, maybe you should include Seeping Bile into this build. You can also use Starfire Shard because it's very good in PvP with the knockback effect. Or if you just want to increase your damage even more, you can use Berserker's Eye or Follower's Burden. So there are many different options. And a lot of them works very well with this build. So feel free to try them out. Lastly, some people has asked me to show my secondary attributes, and here they are. These are my attributes using the build I'm highlighting here. So yeah, it's nothing out of the ordinary. They're not super high. And yeah, let's move on and watch some gameplay when I use this specific build. And in my first game, I'm actually gonna... I wanted to include it because after this game there was a player writing to me, and he told me that he recorded a video about me cheating or hacking, and I will probably get banned soon. So I really wanted to include this game so you can see for yourself what it looked like. And I can understand that some people get frustrated when I use this build. What is very interesting about this build is that since I used the smoke screen to turn invisible, the only way to know that I'm there is by looking at the minimap. And it's quite clear when I'm playing this build who has great map awareness and who doesn't. Because the majority of the players, if I stand there invisible, even if they are surrounding me, they don't even notice that I'm there. So if you use this build, it will become even more important for your enemies to have great map awareness. And it's quite fun to see which player is good and which player is not that good when it comes to this factor. So just an interesting note. But let's move on and watch the first game together. So in this first game we're playing as defenders, and I'm gonna try to take you through my way of playing this build so that you can learn how I'm using it. And as you can see, I'm putting down the smoke screen in a corner, and then I can put down my summons a little bit in front. And I can stand in this area, unless they are pushing too hard, and I have to fall back a little bit. And then I can just use the primary attack to activate the critical hit chance buff. And here is a very good choke point, because I can stand invisible here, put down the summons at that entrance, and it's going to be very difficult for them to get out. And here it's just important for us to stall them as long as possible from activating the idols. And that's also very good with this build, because if I put down a strafe summon on the idol, I can walk back far if I'm low on HP, but this summon will apply damage to the enemy, so they can't activate the idol. So the longer we can prolong their activation of the idol, the more time we have gained. So try to keep applying pressure, and even if they activate the other idol and start walking it, you should still try to make sure that they don't activate the second idol. Because what I see in many games is that you're successfully defending one side, but the other side is pushed a little bit. And when it's pushed halfway, people start to panic, and then everybody runs to this side. This will enable them to activate the second idol, and they will be able to walk it for free many times. So always try to defend both sides, even if one side is further pushed than the other. So yeah, I can hide there whenever they get close. If I have to, I can just use Daring Swing to fall back a little bit. What's good about it as well is that it's put this ice tracks on the ground, so if they try to chase me, they get slowed. And also my summons are down, so they will be very often killed by my summons while they're trying to chase me. And whenever I have the chance to do it, I'm trying to run a little bit further ahead and put down my summons ahead of the idol. Because I don't want to start defending when they have reached the idol. I want to push them back. So if there's any crusaders on the enemy team, for example, I want to engage them as early as possible and force them to activate the Conjuration of Light and things like this. Now I have an opportunity to come to the other side and attack them from behind a little bit. And what's good about that is that usually when they are low on HP, they are trying to fall back a little bit. And then they will run straight into my summons and often die. So we're doing quite a good job here to defend on both sides. And also, I'm not sure about your team composition now, but it's going to be very hard if it's wizards or necromancers who tries to push on this side, because yeah, my summons, they will be on the idol and they will force them off the idol, so they can't stay on the idol for a long time. You see here Psychomaniac, it's the guy who wrote to me afterwards. He's jumping straight into me. He's not looking on the minimap, so he's jumping straight into my summons while I'm invisible, and then he thinks I'm cheating and he flames in the chat. And this is probably where he starts to record this game, because he wants to prove now that I'm hacking or something.
Still waiting.
Now I'm doing very well defending the side. I can also utilize the middle here and apply some pressure on that side. And you see, before they reach this idol, I put down a summon again, because I want to do as much damage to them before they reach idol. Sometimes people think that I'm playing extremely defensively, and yes, I'm doing this, but my summons are there doing damage, and when I fall back, I trick the enemy to believe that I'm very low on HP, and they overextend, and I often kill them. Now I overextend myself. I wasn't ready for that, and you see, if I get caught in CC, I will be killed very fast. So you have to be careful and play this build correctly. You will not be able to stand on the idols, because you will die almost immediately. So your role here is to apply pressure with your damage and try to kill them off from the backline. And what is very good as well now, they're applying pressure here on the right side. I can put down my summons, but if ever I need to, I can run over to the other side and I will still be impactful on the right side while my summons are active. And now I see I should run over because they're gonna handle that. Exactly, and I don't want them to push here. The good thing it was a demon hunter, but it could have been a barbarian and I wanted to make sure that they don't walk the left idol for free. This is why I'm always looking on the minimap to try to count the red dots and try to think 10 seconds in advance where I should be. Once again, I should run over to the other side. And a lot of people, they are staying on the right side there. Even if they are fighting 5 versus 2, they are staying there. What you can actually do is that if you're fighting 5 versus 2 on an idol, you should start pushing ahead of the idol because soon there will be other enemies reaching it. So as often as possible push in front, especially if you're up against a lot of tanks like Crusaders and Barbarians. It's enough if one tank is stalling on the idol, the rest of the team, they should push as far ahead as possible. And if you're able to do this as a group, you can engage the Crusaders and the Barbarians, perhaps 4 versus 2 or 5 versus 3, and then they will not be able to reach the idols before they have to fall back, because they activate the Conjuration of Light, you trigger the undying rage of the Barbarians. And this is key if you want to win as defenders and also as attackers if you want to push. You have to run ahead of the idols as much as you can. So yeah, this was the first game we're having a look at. And as you can see, I'm very seldom taking damage because I can both stand invisible 100% of the time if I want to, because I have awakened the chest piece and the legs piece, which gives me cooldown reduction on the smoke screen. So the uptime is actually 100%. So very, very strong. And if I'm in trouble, I can also use Daring Swing to get away. So yeah, let's move on and watch this, the next game, which is quite a bit different from this one. In this game, we're also playing defenders. And yeah, we're jumping straight into the action here. So what's good with this build is not only that I do a lot of sustained damage and apply constant pressure, since I'm also using the Abiding Curse. Whenever I put down a Strafe Summon here in a pack of enemies, they will be slowed, both their attack speed and movement speed. So they will, it will be more difficult for them to chase anyone with low HP. It will be more difficult for them to escape if they are at low HP, and they will do less damage due to lower attack speed. So it's a very good gem to include in PvP. And yeah, now we're back to this choke point. I'm trying to let my cooldowns get ready, and I'm watching the minimap. When they're approaching that entrance, I'm putting them down. And you can see from time to time I'm using one primary attack in this zone, and this is just to activate my critical hit chance bonus from the pants. Now they're pushing out a little bit and I have to fall back, but I can still apply pressure here to try to hinder them from reaching the idol to activate it. Here, a lot of people, they would run over to the other side and try to be in that fight where there's a lot of enemies. But it's very important that I try to stay here and defend, because even if they activate the left idol, if I can be annoying here on the right side and put down my summons, maybe I can keep 2, 3 or even 4 enemies at bay and hindering them from doing so. So you can see now they're pushing on the right side here, and now they're doing something that's very, very important. You see how they are pushing in front of this idol. They are forcing me back, so I can't stay there, because if I'm staying, I'm gonna be killed. And this is why I wanted to show this game, because I'm thinking that the enemy is playing very well here. instead of standing on the idol pushing it, they are engaging us in front. And we have no tanks here who can help out defending, so as a backline player, I have to fall back. And then now they can walk the idol, as you can see. And they are actually doing so successfully on both sides. The good thing when you are a defender is that the closer the idol gets to their goal, the easier it will be to defend, because whenever someone respawns, it's going to be a shorter route for them to run to defend. So you don't have to panic if they are halfway quite quick, because often they reach a stalemate when they try to push. But we will see how it goes in this game. Now it's time for us to try to push in front of the idol. We engage them here, and as you can see, they're not able to reach. Now we are a little bit too many on this side. Maybe one of us should pivot. But yeah, I'm staying here now, putting down my summons, and there are 2 enemies approaching on the map. And yeah, we're having quite a lot of trouble to defend this game.
Give me a moment.
But you see how effectful it was for them. Instead of pushing everybody, the idol, together, they instead ran and rushed to engage us. We had to fall back, and they walked this right idol half the way for free. So yeah, now we are in big trouble
I'm injured.
because of this. I almost get killed there. Can bandage.
Still waiting.
And yeah, I'm always standing a little bit to the side like this, because if I go onto the idol, I will die almost immediately. So this is my role. I have to apply pressure from the backline. I try to run over to this side, and sometimes now there might be a lot of people on the right side, but if we all stay there, the game will be lost anyway. So our only chance is if they are able to hold on the right side, and I come over here to the left. But once again, now I went over to the left. We killed off some people on the right side, and a lot of the teammates are coming to the left. So we're a little bit too many there. So it's very important to count the dots on the minimap all the time, and try to think 10 or 15 seconds in advance where you should be. Now I'm running up very deep here into this lane, because probably everybody will run to the right side, and I want to apply a lot of pressure to a potential Crusader or Barbarian here, so that
Still recharging.
yeah, I can stop them before they reach the idol, so that they can keep defending on the right side. This time it doesn't work. And now the whole enemy team is running over to the left side. So let's see if they manage to push. We have almost defended now. Yeah, and it's really 50-50 sometimes which side you should be on. Here I didn't manage to stay alive. Maybe we could have defended a little bit better at the end there. And yeah, now the game is basically over, because yeah, we only have 43 kills. We're not gonna be able to defend this. But yeah, I really wanted to highlight this game, because yeah, it showed how effective it was when they are approaching and engaging the battle far ahead of their idols when they're trying to push. So yeah. So yeah, this was the second game. It was quite close in the end, but we didn't manage. They played very well on the other team, but we did our best. So let's look on the final game together. So yeah, here we are in the final game I'm highlighting in this video, and this time we are attackers. And once again we are jumping straight into the action. I'm always trying to put the summons ahead of the idol. I don't want them to reach it. I also have to be careful because sometimes when you're playing as attacker, if the enemy team can kill off the other side, they can attack you from behind. So you have to be very careful. And now you can see that there are a lot of people on this side, so I can fall back a little bit. And we have a lot of time, so we don't have to stress it. And yeah, I'm trying to heal up as often as possible, and yeah. We are pushing this side quite well. And now you can see we're walking the right idol for free. So all of the enemies are here. And we are not everybody in our team on this side. So yeah, we walk the right idol undefended for quite a long distance there. So once again, it's super important if you're defending that you have to have balance on both sides, and you have to balance quick. So don't stay in a fight until it's over on this side, for example. You have to pivot to the other side, a couple of you at least. And it doesn't really matter how well they manage to defend on this side. If they are not balancing, we will win this game. And that's why it's also good to play this build. I can't be on the idols pushing them if the backline is behind it. But I can continue to apply pressure to the enemy here and keep them fighting. Because often that's... it's not only about pushing this idol, it's about to keep the enemy here so they don't go to the other side. Of course, in many games it doesn't matter if you are playing perfectly or if you're not playing perfectly, because there can of course be a difference in the teams, how well people are playing and how strong they are. But of course, if you yourself play as good as possible each game, you will win more often, and you will on average make a huge impact. So yeah, as you can see now, I'm quite alone on this side, and I can't stand on the idol because I will die immediately, but I can at least keep some people here to make it easier for the people on the right side. There I was chased by this guy. I actually daring swinged in a direction he didn't expect. I talked about it in my previous video. I've not talked that much about it here, but often when I'm playing, I'm trying to juke a lot, which means that if someone is chasing me, I'm trying to do some tricks and move in a strange way so that they will not be able to predict where I'm gonna go next. And it's so much easier with this with this smoke screen. Because yeah, sometimes I'm running in one direction, I put down the smoke screen and then I'm daring swinging to the opposite direction. So if a Blood Knight is hunting me, he's skewering in one direction and I'm jumping to the other direction, and he will not know what happened. And often he jumps down into my summons and they can kill him. So here I have to fall back a little bit. I can go here in the middle. Yeah, this is a very close game. Now a lot of people, everybody would run to the right side because it's so close. And yeah, now we managed to push it. But if we don't keep the pressure on the left side as well, they can all go and defend on the right side. And it's almost impossible to push one idol only if the whole enemy team is trying to defend it. So even though it's only 30 seconds to go, sometimes you should still apply pressure on the other side, because that's the best thing to do, even if people might attack you for it sometimes. So yeah, it was close, this game, but we managed to push. I wish I recorded them, but there has been some games where we were playing in offense where we are up against 5 Crusaders, and everybody thinks that it's not going to be possible to win, but the whole team went as far ahead as possible and engaged the whole enemy team as far up the lanes as possible, and we actually managed to win some of those games. So yeah, I mean, before we end this video, just the final thing I would like to say is that often when you are pushing, as it looks today in most of the games, it's gonna be the barbarians and the crusaders standing on the idols, and then you have the backline behind it. And the problem with this strategy is that if you're up against a lot of crusaders and barbarians, it means that they will always be able to reach the idol and defend it. And there they can stand with their Conjuration of Light and Undying Rage and everything. So it will take a long time to kill them off before we can start pushing again. So I believe that it's a better strategy if the tanks on your team, or not only the tanks, if you have no tanks, when you have managed to kill the enemies, they should run ahead. And then the back line can push the idol instead. It's enough if it's one guy who pushes it. So I can push the idol while the barbarians and the crusaders are engaging the enemy in front of it, and I can also apply pressure from behind with my summons. So I think that this strategy is better if you want to win these games. And yeah, I'm trying to write this in the chat sometimes, but most of the time I'm trying to be quiet because it's very hard to try to coach others, because people will just think that you are annoying, and yeah, I can understand that, but I only mean well when I'm doing it. So yeah, this is one of the strongest build I've played with in Battlegrounds, and I hope that you like this video, and please let me know how it goes if you want to try it out. And yeah, thanks for watching, and have a nice evening, a nice day wherever you are. And to all my clan members in Kuro, I would like to say Avrath el Omno Kuro. So bye bye.